Hey there, guys. Welcome to a brand new video. I am here to talk about. Sorry, guys. I'm just adjusting my light here. Um, so I've been thinking about this topic for a little bit now, and with the release of Superman, I think it's fair that I kind of talk about this and kind of tell you a little bit about my thoughts on why we should have faith in DC Studios. Um, Now a lot of this is just through my opinion. I am not sitting here telling you that you should absolutely 100% agree with my opinion, but it is my opinion and I'm going to talk about it. So, yeah, get over it. So, let's go ahead and let's talk about this thing. So I'm gonna bring up my screen here, and let's talk about the upcoming projects that they have coming up right now. Let's start with that. We'll start with that, and then we'll kind of get into the nitty gritty details of like why we should have faith in these upcoming projects. So these are some of the upcoming projects we have right now, and I'm gonna. So coming in oh man. Everything's messed up now. Uh, okay. There we go. Oh, now this is all messed up now. Okay. Sorry guys. Technical difficulties. Um okay, so these are some of the upcoming projects we have coming up right now. Coming up in about a month from now, we have Peacemaker season 2 coming next month, 2025. And then we got multiple projects next year, two films and one TV show. Supergirl coming in 2026. Lanterns will be on HBO in 2026, and Clayface will be released in 2026. Then 2027, so far in 2027, we have the Batman Part 2 being released then. And then in 2028, we have DC Studios' first animated film, which is Dynamic Duo. And all of these sound like very unique projects with very unique tones and styles. Dynamic Duo, obviously being an animated film, and from what we've heard is that it is using a specific type of animation style to make it look like puppets, but with CGI augmentation and a little bit of hand drawn. And from what I'm hearing, it's like a little bit of hand drawn. Super exciting stuff for that. But all these projects have very unique um, styles and visions put behind them. So why should we have faith in these projects? Why should we have faith in DC Studios as a whole? Well, let's start with the very first one, which is a great creative executive and a great business executive. I'm talking about, of course, James Gunn and Peter Safran. Now, James Gunn has given us such projects as Slither, Super, the Guardians of the Galaxy trilogy / the holiday special, The Suicide Squad, Peacemaker season 1, Creature Commandos, and Superman. And then he's also written a lot of films like The Specials. He wrote the Scooby-Doo films from the early 2000s, Dawn of the Dead, which I actually think is one of Zack Snyder's better films. Um, so the guy has obviously worked on really good stuff and has really made a name for himself in the industry, and specifically has really made a name for himself as far as like what he's able to do with the comic book characters. And he's really shown just how much he cares about this genre and about how to take care of this property. It helps that you have someone who's a fan making creative decisions. Now, as far as the business side of things, not that Peter Safran doesn't have creative control. Of course he does. He's the co-CEO of the company, but he's definitely more of a business mind. He's a businessman, and this is some of what Peter Safran has produced. Producer on films like Scary Movie, the first Scary Movie, the Conjuring franchise, which is a whether or not you love all of the films in the Conjuring franchise, they still make money. Those films make a lot of money, and that's successful on its own. Producer on Aquaman 1 and 2. The first Aquaman made $1 billion, and the second Aquaman actually did better than they expected it to, considering that it came out the same year as Blue Beetle, The Flash, Shazam 2, which were all box office flops. Aquaman 2 was the only film that actually made money. I don't like the Aquaman films, but again, $1 billion, Shazam 1 and 2, again, two really good movies. Neither of them were super box office hits, but they were really good movies that got the fans' approval. Obviously, the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, Creature Commandos, and Superman. And he's also been a producer on a lot of James Gunn's films, not just his DC films, but he's also been like an associate producer on like the Guardians of the Galaxy films. He was the producer of one of James Gunn's films, The Specials, and a mini series that James Gunn did called PG Porn. That's a very long story. I'm not even gonna get into it. I'm not even gonna. I would rather not say what that is, but I will say this is funny. Yes. Peter Safran has obviously had connections with James Gunn for a little while, and the two work very well together. And you got a great creative mind in James Gunn and a great business mind in Peter Safran, and the two of them are making magic together, as you would like to call it. Now, the second reason why we should all have faith is the careful planning of their films. This is something that is very, very interesting because James Gunn has come out and said multiple times that projects are not being given release dates until they have finished scripts. This is something that is so great about DC. And I've been talking to my friends, and I very much have been in the opinion of the reason why I love what James Gunn's doing as the CEO of DC is because he does everything I would do if I was the CEO of DC. If I was in charge of making these decisions, I would basically do this exact same thing, not give release dates to projects that don't have finished scripts. And part of the problem, a lot of these movies are going into production without finished scripts. Look at what happened. Look at what's happening. Look at Avengers. Look at the Avengers films. Avengers: Doomsday and Secret Wars are now being pushed to December because you have scripts that weren't finished before they went into production. Marvel has a tendency to do that a lot with their films, to not finish the script before they go into production, and that isn't good. That is a really, really bad thing. I mean, look at Blade. They still can't get Blade figured out. They gave this release date for Blade. Blade was supposed to come out this November. It was supposed to come out this November. But now it's not coming out this November because they don't have a finished script and they can't figure it out. And this is why you don't announce release dates when you don't have a finished script. You need to get your script done, get it to where it's like, okay, we are ready to go. And even if it's not 100%, even if the writer wants to go in and make little changes here and there, that's fine. But have something that's locked before you decide, all right, we're going to give this a December 2026 release date. You know, that's the big problem with a lot of not just superhero films, it's big budget films in general. I'm sure Transformers Rise of the Beast would have been a much better movie, and I'm just willing to bet. I don't know this for sure, but I'm willing to bet it's because they didn't have a finished script before going into production. You know, or they were being reckless with their script during the making of the film. You know, a lot of these big budget films have gotten super generic as a result of that mentality of going into these movies without finished scripts. And I like the fact that James Gunn has been not hasn't really been falling into that trap. He's announced what projects are being worked on. He's announced that we're getting a DCU Batman with the Brave and the Bold. He's announced that we're getting the Authority. He's announced that we're getting Swamp Thing and all these different films. But he's also not. It's not like we don't have a release date for Swamp Thing. Why? Because there's no script. We don't have a release date for Sergeant Rock. Why? Because there's no script. We don't have a release date for the Brave and the Bold because there's no finished script. They are working on it. You know, they just announced that they're working on a Wonder Woman movie, that they're developing a Wonder Woman movie, and they aren't announced. It's not like they came out and said, "All right, we got a Wonder Woman movie. It's coming out December 2027. There we go. Book it." They're not doing that because they're like, "Okay, no, we're currently writing the script right now. We're going to get the script right we before we really like put it into production." And the films they have got release dates for, the scripts are written, the scripts are done. You know, Supergirl just finished shooting. Clayface is about to go into production. The Batman Part 2, Matt Reeves just put out a picture saying that the first draft that the script was done. You know, I'm assuming Dynamic Duo has a finished script because it's coming out in like 3 years from now. So I'm assuming they got a finished. They got somewhat of a finished script on there now because there's so much time that goes into an animated film. They do have time to make story decisions should they have to, but still. Now, another reason why we should all be excited, we should all have faith in DC Studios is they are attaching great filmmakers and great storytellers to these projects. Here are just some of the um uh here are just some of the creatives that are being that are involved in these projects. Craig Gillespie. Now I'm sure I misspelled his name. I apologize for that. But Craig Gillespie is directing Supergirl. Now Craig Gillespie directed films like he directed Dumb Money, which was really good. I, Tanya, fantastic. Cruella actually is pretty okay. Like not a bad film. It's pretty okay. Actually, I will say one of the better live action Disney movies. Um Lars and the Real Girl, which is a really fun little movie. Um uh why don't I just pull up his IMDb? Because I know he's directed more than just those films. You have here, let me okay, it's for some reason it's not For some reason, my computer's acting stupid. um, but okay. And for some reason, my computer is just acting stupid. IMDb is not wanting to load properly. So here's what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna do this. Okay. I got it now. Um, uh, Directed films like Lars and the Real Girl, which a really cute little movie. Um, uh, The Finest Hours, which again, a really good, um, a really fun, a really good little movie. I Tanya, which was fantastic. Cruella, which was really good. Um, he is also the director of the miniseries called Pam and Tommy, which was which was I saw those that miniseries, and it actually isn't was actually really good and really interesting. Um, and obviously Dumb Money, which was really good, very good. And now he's doing Supergirl. Now he's doing Supergirl, and that is a incredible choice for that movie, especially for what that story is going to be. You have James Watkins and Mike Flanagan. James Watkins, the director of films like he directed the most recent remake of Speak No Evil, which was really good, really well done. And then you have Mike Flanagan writing the screenplay. Mike Flanagan's name alone should be the reason to be excited for Clayface, because Mike Flanagan is, I think, one of the best filmmakers working today, like hands down. I think he's absolutely brilliant. Doctor Sleep is so good. Um, The Life of Chuck is actually my favorite movie of the year so far. I love that movie, uh, and yeah, just Mike Flanagan being attached to Clayface, even if it's just as a writer, is so exciting. That should be on everybody's most hyped list. You have Matt Reeves is staying on to do his Batman films. Matt Reeves, incredible director, has done really good, has made a really good impression with the Batman and with not just the Batman, but he also was behind Batman Caped Crusader, which is a really good animated series. He was behind The Penguin, which is a great TV show, which was a great show and an Emmy nominated TV show now. And then they have James Mangold, who is still, hopefully, still attached to do Swamp Thing. They have great filmmakers, and then they have, yeah, they've brought in filmmakers, and it hasn't worked out. You know, they brought in Luca. Um, I'm not even gonna try to pronounce his name, but he's another really interesting filmmaker who's actually directing a movie that I actually saw a trailer for today in front of Eddington, called After the Hunt with Andrew Garfield and the girl from The Bear. Um, Looks really cool, but even though that, and yeah, that didn't really work out, but still, they're James Gunn is going after talented filmmakers. He's going after very talented filmmakers. He's not just like, oh well, we're just gonna get, I don't know, the Morbius director to do to do uh Swamp Thing. No, no, they're going after talent. They're going after great storytellers. And speaking of great storytellers, James Gunn also has they have a really great, there's really great care for the material. They are collaborating with people like Tom King, and other DC comic writers who understand these characters. Now, Tom King may not be a movie script writer. He may not be a professional screenwriter, but he understands the comics and he understands these characters. And that's what you need. You don't need to make straight adaptations of the comics. You don't need to like as much as it pains people to hear this, no, the comic books, the movies don't have to be exactly like the comic books. It's okay for the movies not to be exactly like the comic books. But they can still take inspiration from the comics and they can still collaborate with people who understand these characters because they write them in the comics. They understand who these characters are. They understand the world in which these characters come from and how they impact their world. And it's just such great care is being taken for these for this these movies and TV shows too. And TV shows. So, and the last reason why we should have faith is because they haven't missed the mark on any projects they've released so far. Now, they have released, as of this recording, they have released um Superman, the Christopher Reeve story. Okay, there's that one. The Penguin, which again, an Emmy nominated TV show. Creature Commandos, which is the first project set in the DCU and marked the beginning of the DCU along with Superman, which Superman is already, after just 1 week in theaters, most likely is going to end up being $1 billion film. Is most likely going to end up being $1 billion film. So you look at these projects that they've released so far, they haven't missed the mark. And now they got multiple projects coming out that all seem incredibly exciting and so incredibly different. So, why should we have faith in DC Studios? Number one, two really great executives, one great creative executive and one great business executive in James Gunn and Peter Safran. Careful planning of their films, attaching really great filmmakers for these films like Craig Gillespie, James Watkins, and Mike Flanagan, Matt Reeves, and James Mangold. And then they have great care and they have really great care for the material. And finally, haven't missed the mark on any projects. That all of their projects, every project that's listed here has been really good. Has been really. I honestly, I'll go so far as it's been great. I loved the Christopher Reeve story. I loved the Penguin. Creature Commandos was a lot of fun, and Superman it is great. Superman's great. It's a great movie. It really is, and all this. When you look at all this, it is the reason to be excited for it is the reason to be excited for DC Studios as a whole, you know. And I know I'm excited for what DC Studios has to do. I know a lot of people who I've talked to, like Robert, are very excited for what the future of DC holds. And I'll also say this: DC is in a much better place now than they were in 2 years ago. Because 2 years ago we had the DCEU, which was a mess. So many a rotating a revolving door of people in charge of the DCEU. DC was never its own studio. And look, don't get me wrong. I have had my issues with David Zaslav. I do. I have my issues with David Zaslav. I don't think he's that great of an executive, but David Zaslav made the one thing I will give David Zaslav props for is he brought in James Gunn and Peter Safran and gave and basically turned DC into its own studio. Now Warner Brothers doesn't have really any creative control over DC. They have financial interest in DC, obviously, because they own it. But they're not saying, maybe you should do this with your movie because we want it to be more like this. You don't have guys in suits making creative decisions. Yes, there is a guy in a suit in Peter Safran. Yes, but he is partnered with great, a great creative executive in James Gunn. And James Gunn has already knocked it out of the park. And look, if James Gunn wants to take a break after doing Superman, I understand because he was in charge of Creature Commandos, Superman, and Peacemaker. 3 projects over the course of 1 year, and he was in charge of it all, And now he's shepherding other filmmakers. He is helping out with he's shepherding Craig Gillespie doing Supergirl and Mike Flanagan and James Watkins with Clayface, doing all these incredible things, and I cannot wait to see what they do next. And I'm looking forward to Clayface. I'm looking forward to Supergirl. I'm looking forward to Lanterns, and even the projects that don't have release dates. I can't wait to see Brave and the Bold. I can't wait to see Sergeant Rock. I can't wait to see, you know, The Authority. I can't wait to see what they do with Wonder Woman. I have faith in DC Studios. I have faith that they are going to really knock it out of the park, and we are going to get some pretty cool stuff. Now, that will do it for this video, guys. Thank you so much for watching. If you like the video, please make sure you leave a thumbs up and subscribe. I think I should subscribe to the channel because Zeke the Geek said so. And don't I yes, guys, I know I'm gonna upload my MCU reviews. Now, I am making there is an announcement I have at the end of the Guardians review that's gonna go up later. But I'll make it here now. I am not going to do a rewatch review of Thunderbolts and Captain America. Those movies I'm not going to do a rewatch review of, mainly because they're still pretty fresh on my mind, and I have out of the theater reactions for them, and it's a whole thing that I don't really have time to get into. I'll maybe get into it more on the Zeke Said So show, whenever we do the Zeke Said So show. But actually, that reminds me, the Zeke Said So podcast is actually available on Spotify, Apple Podcast, and Amazon Music. Wherever you get your podcast, the Zeke Said So podcast is available, except for YouTube Music, because YouTube has a lot of copyright issues. But thank you guys so much for watching. If you like the video, please be sure to leave a thumbs up and subscribe. I think I subscribe to the channel because Zeke the Geek said so. And I will talk to you guys later. Peace out.